Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Come to the show, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's Walk On Wednesday. Walk On Wednesday is when we bring on a guest, someone from our audience that, we think are doing cool things with their life. Pick their brain for about 5 or 10 minutes. Got a special one for you today. But before we introduce them, I want to say good morning to Mr. Kastuba.
Good morning, Raghunath.
Good morning, Kastuba. How are you?
Good morning.
All is good?
Yeah.
Alles klar?
Mm-hmm.
Commissar. Hey, I got to announce we got 3 spaces left for Italy. That is Italy, Wisdom of the Sages, Italy retreat. Do it every year, and it's padded with Jiva G Life Coaching comes, and she works 12 steps with people for the Bhakti Recovery Group. It's there, present with us as we go into beautiful places around Italy. It's kid-friendly. We go to the sea. We go to Cinque Terre. We go to beautiful ancient villages like Siena. And it's just, we're in this beautiful palace up in the Tuscany Mountains. I'm so happy we're doing this for the 3rd year in a row. So if you're interested, go to wisdomofthesages.com/events, sign up or look for more information. And also want to announce it's Super Soul Farm, 200-hour Bhakti Vinyas yoga teacher training. Thinking about becoming a yoga teacher? We got you covered. Me, Cindy Lunsford, Bobby Marchand. We're here. Go to my Instagram page. Go on my links in bio, and you can find it there. Mara, what announcements do you have? Miss Mara?
We have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 1 and at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Alrighty. So, Kastuba, you want to say anything, or can I bring on our guest?
Bring on our guest.
All right. Well, we had another Makunika shore. We always have a Makunika shore from the UK here, but this is
UKMK.
That's UKMK. This is SDMK. Makunika shore from San Diego. Welcome to the show, Makunda. Harry Ball.
Harry Ball. Thanks for having me, guys.
And I recognize that backdrop of your altar because I've done the show live from your living room before when we take road trips to California, right? Makunika Shore is he's just an old friend of mine. He was a classic hardcore kid. Now, some people they're civilians. They've never gone to a hardcore show. Hardcore is like a type of music that me and Kastuba came out of, and we got attracted to Krishna consciousness. Makunika Shore is one of those people also from the scene. Who's gone on to do great things in his life, including this incredible restaurant. He didn't co-found. Govardhan founded it, but you're a partner. You're assisting expand it. You want to talk about Ben and Esther's for us, please?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Govardhan and I met actually through another business. He used to own barber shops. I still currently own barber shops. But during COVID, when those got shut down, I kind of reached out to him because he had started the first Ben and Esther's location. And I asked him, how could I get involved? Because restaurants were still able to be open. And more importantly, how could we Krishnaize this project? Because we both have had fortunate enough to have some success in other business, and Ben and Esther's is kind of like a passion project as well, to also for the animals, but also to distribute prasadam. So yeah, we partnered up about 1.5 years ago. Since then, we opened 4 additional locations, and we're still expanding. So yeah, we're excited.
So Ben and Esther's is a Jewish vegan deli. What are some of your big hits on the menu?
All the traditional classic Jewish stuff, like Reuben sandwiches and latkes, anything you would find at a deli. And then we have all the deli sides, potato salad, egg salad, tuna salad. Everything's vegan, of course. And yeah, so we just, like I said, we wanted to make comfort food, and specifically vegan food, available to people who would normally not eat it, because I think we're all tired of eating veggie burgers. And so we decided to do something a little bit different and make the Jewish deli vegan.
And what's been the reaction to it? Are people inspired, excited? Do you have to push it on people? What's been the traction you've been getting, or have you been getting a lot of traction?
Yeah, we've had some celebs in there, some vegan celebrities. We had the singer Lizzo. She's a huge like R&B rapper type person, and she came in and did a video shout out for us, so that was huge. Wow. So generally the response has been great. Like I said, I think just because anytime we open a store, we'll have a line, 2 or 3 hours long waiting for food. And I really think it's just because people are, they're just tired of eating veggie. That's important. Burgers.
Let's go with that for a moment. Let's go with that. You have every time you open a store, you have a line that's 2 and 3 hours long. What are you, like the Apple Store of vegan Jewish? Yes, I guess they are. They are the Apple Store of vegan Jewish delis. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The response. Yeah, the response has been crazy. I mean, we literally will have a line for 2 to 3 hours that opening weekend at every store. So yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, it is just typical Jewish food, just vegan version. So I can only chalk it up to that people want something different in vegan food. That's it. Or maybe subconsciously they know it's prasadam.
Well, it's definitely like harvest for veganism. Like, how old were you when you got into vegetarianism? Did you get into that through the hardcore scene, through Krishna? How did you get into it? You grew up in Jersey. And you're probably 10 years younger than me. What's your story, and what was it like when you got into it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I became a vegetarian when I was 18, and I'm 49 now. So, okay. A solid 30 years or so I've been a vegetarian. So it's definitely much different now than it was back then. I know you guys talk about that all the time on the show, and it's so true that back then your choices were basically a salad, or if you were a vegetarian, maybe grilled cheese. So it's nice to have all these options now, to just give people something different. And we've even had Radhanath Swami and Bhadranarayan Swami have come by the store as well. Radhanath Swami gave us kind of instructed us on how to make the food prasadam, because we're not always on site, and it's not all devotees running our stores either. So, he gave us some instruction on how we can make sure that it's prasadam as well. So that was nice.
So this is special.
So for Jewish swamis in there too.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it was ironic to watch Radhanath Swami eating a bagel at my store.
Wow. Maybe the first bagel he's eaten in 50 years.
Well, with this bagel, he had something else, like other menu items.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what he said. He said he hadn't had a bagel in about 50 years. So,
By the way, this is really impressive. It's not just like you're promoting veganism, which we're all like we're all disgusted by the animal industry. It's become an industry where we animals become commodities, but it's actually preparing food with the consciousness of love, distributing it with love. Those who are new to the show, this is called prashad. It means the consciousness of the cooks are going into the food. So can you give us a clue what the Swami said of how to make it prashad or sacred food?
Yeah, so basically we have the stores at a certain time every day. The first preparation they make, they put it in a certain place in the store, and then either Govardhan or I, we take turns on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and we will say some prayers at that time of day. And so that was basically the instruction we got. Just make sure that it's on a plate, put it at some of our stores. We actually have, like in San Diego, we do have Gornatai deities there. So because the manager is also a devotee. So it's a little bit easier if it's devotees working, but it's not so easy if it's not devotees. So and we want it to feel inclusive too. So we don't want people to think it's something weird. So we just ask them to put it in a certain spot at a certain time, and we say our little prayers, and then we kind of use that as our offering.
I love that. Kastuba, what do you think? New York City.
I mean, it seems the logical.
It seems logical, right? By the way, our message board is lighting up. You're invited to Durham, North Carolina, Florida. Everybody wants you.
Ironically,
where are the stores now?
We have San Diego, 2 in Portland, 1 in Oceanside, which is also in San Diego County, and then we just opened in Seattle, Washington in November. So our next store will be most likely in Los Angeles. Just because for proximity reasons, it's just Govardhan and I running it. So we do get requests literally daily from people all over the country that want us to open, but it's a little bit cumbersome on the operations side when it's just the 2 of us, and we're not at a point where we can hire like an entire executive team,
Right.
So
right.
So really we need operators. If we've been talking about models where people can maybe become a partner in one store in their town or something like that. So if anyone is interested, seriously interested, then definitely reach out and we can have a conversation about that.
Ooh, I think maybe Mara, the franchise. What do you think? Hudson, New York. Kastuba. Let's get Kastuba to come up. I could see Kastuba working at a deli.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, slinging bagels,
Makunika Shore, you're an inspiration. He's been a big supporter of the podcast, both like helping it get off the ground. He's always kicks in with like a monthly donation and sponsors things or events.
Our platform, actually.
It helps us, pays our monthly platform to get on Lipson,
if you're hearing it as another, it's because of Makunika Shore's monthly donation.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're always super grateful. What were you saying, Mara? Oh yeah, and he sponsored our holiday dinner in New York City, on the Wisdom of Sages holiday dinner.
And I wish I could have been there.
And, he's the original other. You know that? Makunika Shore is the original other, because I remember saying these Zoomers, they're dedicated every day, and he contacted me and said, I just want you to know, I listen every day. I've never, ever missed an episode. And I was like, you're like an other that's out there, just satelliting around, and we never knew you were there. My God. So thanks so much for being, I'm going to call you Othernath, King of the Others.
Nice.
Lord of the Others. Thank you for all you've done for the show. And thank you for like this constant contribution of, finding your niche of like, okay, I'm here. What can I give back? And I think Ben and Esther's and what you and Govardhan are doing is huge. We wish it all success. Everybody out there listening right now, should find a Ben and Esther's in their area. Go there, support them. They're doing great work. Order bagels for your team, for your family. And let's see. And we are sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for Ben and Esther's, New York City or Hudson, New York to open up, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Haribol.
Haribol, thanks for waking up early.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Kasuba, Ben and Esther's.
I want to go.
I want to go too.
I just never in any of those places.
It's time. Well, me and Mara went last year, right? No, it wasn't you. I'm just taking some other woman. I was with some other woman. No, where was I in San Diego? I sent you pictures. Oh, I went to LA Rath Yacht. I brought my kids. It was great. Ah, all right. Shall we dive into the sweet Srimad-Bhagavatam, Prabhu?
Let's do it.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunamadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the sight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Miss Mara.
Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 12, Text 7.
Text 7.
We're in it, Kostuba. We're in the deep stuff. Deep, sweet stuff.
King Rahugana is, he's humbly placed questions. And as is the right of a sadhu, he's getting a little heavy with Rahugana now. Jadabharta he's speaking truth. And he's doing it, he's cutting a little bit now. He's gonna try to help him, put him in his place, say, hey, you've got some misconceptions, and we're gonna hear today, they're affecting how you behave and how you treat others, and you better clear that up.
I think sometimes people think the idea of a sadhu is everything is sweet, everything is sweet. And for the most part, everything is sweet, but there's this idea of a Singha guru or a lion guru, although they have this affection of sweet, they are affectionate and sweet. There's also like a chopping or a cutting technique, just like a good parent will do. Sometimes a good parent is not just nice, but there's got to be some type of tough love where they sort of execute, they evoke some type of maybe some anger to correct the child. And so sometimes the truth cuts through my attachments and my egos, and the guru is also welcome to do that. And if we think that the guru is just like living in this state of, he's like this blissful jester that just agrees with whatever you're doing, that's not a guru. A guru is going to tell you some things you don't want to hear either.
Yeah. And so he was telling him yesterday, he was telling the king, you think you are the king. You're not the king. You may be playing this role temporarily. There's no real, true, lasting substance to that. You're temporarily playing this role, but in fact, he wanted to bring us. Again, we can look at it on two levels, right? Mm-hmm. We can look at it, in terms of what was the word we were using yesterday?
Functional and
we could say functional. And, foundational or conventional. Let's say conventional and something that's more deeper than that, more substantial than the conventional. Conventionally, everyone's agreed he's the king. So in a conventional sense, he is the king, but in a deeper sense, no, he's a soul that for a moment in time passed through a body that had been established as the king. Right, that body had been. What do they call it when you do the ceremony? You pour water on the head of the king and everything like that. Christening.
Coronation.
coronated. He had been
Coronation.
That body had been coronated the king, but he's not the king. He's for a blip in time. He stepped into those shoes or wore the hat. You could say, you know, the crown of the king.
It helps me so much to look at life as a blip in time.
One lifetime, just a blip.
The entire life. I'm getting that feeling more and more as the days go by. It's like when you look
like sands
at your life, it was like, right? You look back at your
so are the days
life,
of our lives.
Blip. High school. That was a blip, right? 20s, blip. 30s, blip. 40s, blip. It's all a blip. It's like, and if you were to look at the highlight reel, it'd be like, oh, that one pretty, you know, you look at the highlight reel, all these events that seem so monumental were actually just little blips. Blips.
So he's saying, yeah, you know, some bodies came and took the shape of palanquin carriers. Another body came and took the shape of a king. Different sparks of spiritual energy entered those different forms, right? Or you know, were within those different forms. And then quickly in a blip, they're out of those forms. But you are thinking that you're that king. And you treated that, and due to that ignorance, you took on a false identity. And because you're out of touch with the truth, you didn't recognize the sacredness of every soul, including those the ones that were carrying your palanquin. And then you began to mistreat them. And so then he's gonna lay into him right here in this text 7.
Here's text 7. It is a fact, however, that these people carrying your palanquin without payment are certainly suffering.
You know, you're unfortunately you're chopping up a little bit, right?
I'm chopping.
That I'm hearing. Yeah.
I got
Why don't you read it again?
It is a fact, however, that these innocent people carrying your palanquin without payment are certainly suffering due to this injustice. Their condition is very lamentable because you have forcibly engaged them in carrying your palanquin. Proves that you are cruel, unkind. Yet, due to false prestige, you are thinking that you are protecting citizens. This is ludicrous. You were such a fool.
Protecting citizens. It's just because you're chopping up a little bit. We're missing some words sometimes.
I'm chopping, Mara. All right. You were such a fool that you could not have been adored as a great man in an assembly of persons advanced in knowledge.
All right. Yeah. People that see what's really going on they can see right through this. You know. And how can you be appreciated?
Text 8.
The people that you should really be, the people that you would admire, they can't admire you because your behavior is coming from a platform of ignorance, and consequentially, you act with cruelty. Right? Okay.
All of us on the surface of the globe are living entities in different forms. Some of us are moving, some of us are non-moving. All of us come into existence, remain for some time, and are annihilated when the body is again mingled with the earth.
It's a blip.
Blip. Just a blip. You know, by the way, this whole blip thing can get you a little depressed. Like, really? All that was just a blip? It can get you a little depressed, but can also relieve you of these. There's always like pending doom sometimes. It's very easy to focus on pending doom. But it minimizes that. It minimizes these so-called magnificent problems I'm facing today. And some of the stuff that really, like, if I really analyze probably the biggest obstacles I was facing in my life, if I look back at them now, they don't seem like such a big deal. Although at the moment they did. So this zooming out, this seeing the world as blips actually relieves a lot of anxiety because it's pass. It's going to pass. And this moment right now and all that I'm going through and all these things that are seeing so monumental are also just a blip. And it in only a year from now, sometimes, what to speak of a day from now, what to speak of 10 years from now, 20 years from now, etc.
You know, I remember when you were a kid, like I think when we were about 15 or so, the movie Gandhi came out. Do you remember when that
Yep.
came out? It was a big deal.
Yes, I did.
And it was like, I think it was like a 4-hour movie or something like that.
It was like a 4-hour movie. I never made it through it.
Okay.
I never.
remember
If you
going
want
to
the
that with
honest
a couple-
truth.
I remember going to that with a couple of friends.
Sounds
And
a
if I
great night
remember-
out.
Sorry?
Sounds like a
What'd you
great
say?
night out.
Well, if we saw a movie, what are you trying to say?
4-hour Gandhi movie. Woo.
Well, everybody
go
was
on.
doing it. That it won all the awards and everything.
Yep,
It was,
I remember.
and it was a good night. It was educational. But
Okay.
it may have been one of my earliest kind of introductions to this kind of thinking, because if I remember it correctly, the way that it ended, the very end, the last words of that film, if I remember correctly, this is how I remember it, was it's Gandhi speaking. Who was it? Who's that actor that played him? Ben Kingsley. And he's saying, you know, I think what he was saying was that when people ask me, you know, what about all the horrible things that go on in the world? What about the dictators and, you know, the oppression and this and that? And he says, I always think, I forget exactly how he phrased it, but more or less that, you know, this too shall pass, you know, that he was drawing, you know, our attention to this idea, never become too discouraged by whatever difficulties there are in this world. Because if you see them from another perspective, they're just a moment in time. They pass, you know, they pass by. So, and that's, you know, again, a lot of what we're focusing on. You see, as we were studying this chapter, Raghunath, what it really, and I've shared this, but what it really brings my mind to is, I find today, like you and I have been presenting bhakti for decades, and I can, and you and I have discussed it ourselves. You know, we can feel, we can perceive the difference. People have different questions now than they did then. People have different concerns now than they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I find that what a major concern, like for instance, the term spiritual bypassing, as far as I know, it may have existed 30 years ago, but it wasn't popularized. Nobody used that term.
No,
Maybe there was, I don't know when it came up, or, you know, that particular slogan, you'd say. But people today, what happens is when you bring up certain concepts of Eastern wisdom, the mind immediately goes to, what is the consequence of that thought, right? How could that play out in such a way where it might cause harm in the world? People are very quick to go there in ways that they weren't in the past, which in one sense could be a good thing, but in another sense can be a very confusing thing, because we might fall into a trap like we were discussing the other day, where we decide whether or not something is true, not looking at the merits of it, not looking at it with clear logic or with like rationale.
Sure.
But more judging, could it be misused? If so, it can't be true, which is a fallacy. You know, because there's all kind of things that are good in this world, that are true in this world, that could be potentially misused. And so here we see that the conversation is going between this conventional thought and this transcendental. So this tension between, like, you know, what if, you know, just what Gandhi said. Someone could say, well, hold it. If you just look at life as it's just a blip, then you're not going to bother to address all the injustices and all the suffering in this world, because you're just going to say, well, it's not important. You've minimized people suffering through that.
Before this was a phrase, though.
But
we already, okay, you want to finish your statement? Sorry.
Well, yeah. So my point is, this is Gandhi speaking. Okay, right. Like, this is a person who's like probably the world's, you know, like the most famous figure in our modern history, who dedicated his life to cause, you know, to like overcoming injustice through, you know, through a nonviolent.
He was the ultimate social justice
warrior
leader out there.
Yes. Yeah, so the point is that his thinking like this, not only did it help him deal with, like, that's what he was expressing in that final statement of the film, that it helps him not become discouraged, but it informs his social response. You know, this kind of thinking informs his social response. So it's a question of how you apply it, not the question of whether it's true or not. I mean, whether it's true or not is something that we all have to consider ourselves, if this is just a blip, where we're going to place our faith. But if you're going to say it can't be true because it might be a cause, it might be misused in a particular way, that's not rational thinking. That's my point. Did you want to share something?
I think he covered it. I think these issues that are like really in everybody's face right now, we had to wrestle with those when becoming a devotee. Like we did get into this. We were already interested in what was going, concerned about what was going on in the world. We were. Yeah. It's not like we just said we want to join a religious cult. we were thinking the world's a mess.
Yeah,
but we didn't. And instead of trying to water every leaf, make it green, our understanding of the Bhagavatam was that you go right to the roots. There is a dearth of God consciousness. We don't see spirit in every living entity, not just humans, every living being, including the earth itself. And therefore, why water every leaf? Go right to the roots of it. Start with connecting ourselves to divinity, and then introduce that concept to everybody we meet. And that has been the driving force in our lives since I've known you. That's what we have. That's what you and I have. That's our whole friendship is based on that. And it wasn't like because we were like, well, who cares about the animals? Who cares about the planet? Who cares about the environment? It's the reason why we're into bhakti in the first place. We didn't bypass it. We've thought thoroughly about this. We've gone through this stuff. When I was in Youth Today,
confronted it.
Right, we confronted. I went toe to toe with Nazis over racism. Wrote songs about it. Wrote songs about animal rights. Wrote songs about compassion. And the mature fruit of that was, we all need to study the Bhagavatam. It wasn't because I didn't want to be compassionate. I wanted to throw racism away. It doesn't matter. It's not because I didn't care about the environment. It's because I felt like this was the ultimate cause. Like this disconnection between us and God. This is what we all need. If we really want to fix these problems, let's go right to the ultimate source of them.
Yeah. And here in this verse that we just read, text 7, it's going right there. In other words, it's saying, he's saying the world's a blip, right? In other words, you're a king for a blip in time, but you think you are the king. That's illusion, right? But he's saying, and because of that ignorance, you've been mistreating people, right? If you actually understood the truth, you would be respecting these people. You'd be kinder to these people. You wouldn't be oppressing these people if you understood the truth, that you're the king for a second. So it's just a question. Here, Bhagavatam is saying this is the cure to social injustice, is spiritual knowledge, not the cause of it. It's the cure of it. Now it could be misapplied, like any good thing could be misapplied, so try to understand. You don't take half of what the Bhagavatam is saying and throw out the other half and say, oh, this is promoting spiritual bypassing. No, it's promoting social justice, but it's recognizing spiritual knowledge as the ultimate solution.
There you go. Yeah. I think that, wrestled with these things that people are coming. We've already wrestled with them. And I feel like we've pinned them using the Bhagavatam. Okay. I didn't finish 8. Different bodies and capacities are simply transformations of the earth that exist.
This is text 8?
That's halfway through.
Did we start it?
We started it. Let's do it again. It's a good one.
Yeah.
All of us on the surface of the globe are living entities in different forms. Love that. Some of us are moving and some are non-moving. Love that. All of us come into existence, remain for some time, and are annihilated when the body again is mingled with the earth. Wow, what a great way to look at your life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're born, you remain for some time. That's like right now, I'm remaining for some time. And then my body is going to be mingled again with the earth somehow or other. Right?
Yeah.
We are simply different transformations of earth.
That's what
Isn't
the
that
body
amazing?
is. Yeah.
Your whole body, your face, Kostuba, it's just earth. You got an earth face. It's a transformation of Earth. Different bodies and capacities are simply transformations of the Earth that exist in name only. For everything grows the Earth, and when everything is annihilated, it again mingles with the Earth.
Okay.
Ooh, really takes the romance out of life, doesn't it, Earth woman? Looking at Miss Mara Earth over here. I'm going to call you Eartha. In other words, we are but dust.
Don't sing it, Dragon. Just
Don't
keep
sing
reading.
it? Come on. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. There's certain songs I've sang repeatedly on the show. And I think
Yeah.
Dust in the
Really?
Wind.
We did-
Dust
we
in the
didn't
Wind
know this.
I must have sang that 20 times at least.
Okay.
And we shall be but dust. In other words, we are but dust, and we shall be but dust. Everyone can consider this point. That is a great meditation, my friends. Let's consider this point.
Well, okay, so this is interesting. Like he said different things. Like he said, what did he say about names? We are all simply different transformations of Earth. Different bodies and capacities are simply transformations of the Earth that exist in name only. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean I exist just in name?
You're Kastuba. That's just your name. You're really Dust. Your real name should be Dusty.
It's like because there's a great example given here in this commentary. I'll read a bit.
Please.
It says a water pot is made of earth, right? We can, like, in other words, our bodies are made of earth. Yeah, it's easier for us to even conceive of, like, say, a water pot, a clay water pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
A water pot is made of earth. A water pot made of earth can be used to carry water for some time, right? It takes on that clay, the earth, takes on the form of a water pot for some time, and you can carry water with it. But ultimately, the pot is nothing but earth. Therefore, there is no difference between the pot and the original ingredient, the earth. It is simply a different transformation of the energy. Originally, the cause or primary ingredient. So now this is being used as an analogy. So what is the earth in this analogy? That's Krishna, right? Originally, the cause or primary ingredient is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the varieties are only byproducts. What are the varieties? We are the varieties. And then the earth is a variety from the Supreme Lord's energy and whatever forms it takes on. So it says, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it is stated, and it gives a long Sanskrit verse, but I'll read you that verse. Here's the verse. It's Chandogya Upanishad 6.1.4. It says, by knowing a single lump of earth, you know all objects made of earth. All changes are mere words in name only, but earth is the reality. To say we had a piece of clay, I could shape it into a little, like a dinosaur.
Duck.
Right? Let's say a
dinosaur.
Duck.
Okay.
We make it a duck, and then we call it a duck. Then we squeeze it around and we turn it into a dinosaur. Now we call it a dinosaur, but it's been earth all along. It's just a transformation of the same thing. We give it a name. We call it a duck. It's just earth.
Such a good way to look at our bodies.
Yeah.
And the investment, how much millions and billions of dollars do we invest in the dust as ourself? Like, this is my identity. See?
Yeah. So we're the same energy is transforming into different shapes and it's being given different names. But really, is it a dinosaur? No, it's earth, but we call it a dinosaur. So in that sense, it exists in name only.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to Prabhupada's commentary, he says, if one simply understands the original cause, Krishna, the cause of all causes, then naturally everything else is understood, although it may be presented in different varieties. Right? I'm in a male body. I'm in a female body. I'm in a dog's body. I'm in a tree body. And, I'm going around through these different transformations of earth, ultimately different transformations of Krishna's energy. But I'm the same. I should understand that it's all material energy, and not place too much, not give too much weight to the particular form that it is. Right? And again, you want to get to social justice. If I realize I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm not man, I'm not woman, I am just temporarily informed, and everybody else is, then we really begin to speak on the level of equality. We really begin to understand that we are just these sparks. We're not even these temporary identities, because these are all just transformations of the same energy, right? Whether if one person's man and one person's woman, it's just two sparks of spiritual energy situated in blips in time forms of the same energy called earth, which is that in one instance takes the shape of a male body, and in the other instance takes on the shape of a female body. The deeper that we understand that we're not these bodies, the more clearly we understand our equality, and the more capable we are of empathy, of sympathy, of ultimately of a vision of equality, which Bhagavad Gita will call samadarshana, like equal vision.
For a moment in time, I'm a man, but I'm as much as a woman as Miss Mara is. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before this body melts. Yeah, and then whatever we're meditating on, we become like. Yeah. That's all. So the real question is, in this lifetime, what are we meditating on? Because we're creating it. We're creating our future by our daily thoughts. Isn't that huge?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you even brought that up, Raghunath, because, you know, one could ask a question. You see, because really what he's saying, and again, certain people might object to this. They might say, hold it, you're taking something that's real and you're saying it's unreal. Like suffering is real. You're trying to tell us that it's unreal. That's going to minimize our feeling of the need to right the wrong, to correct the
urgency to correct.
Yeah, the urgency to correct the wrong. No, that's not what's happening. It's saying that it's unreal. They might say, how can you say that it's unreal, right? It's here, it's happening, we're feeling it, we're perceiving it. And what the way that the Bhagavad Gita will explain, the way that the Bhakti Vedantins explain this, where is that it's illusory and it's temperate in its temporality. And you brought up the idea of thoughts, Raghunath, because like we'll say that a dream, like we'll go to sleep at night and we'll dream, and then we'll wake up and we'll say with complete conviction that the dream was unreal, right? That it didn't exist.
Right.
Okay. But what is the dream? Like scientifically, what is the dream? It's made of thoughts. But what are thoughts made of?
Yeah, what are thoughts made of? I don't know, Kostuba. Earth?
Well, thoughts are made of, like, you know, the scientific explanation for what thoughts are is that they're neurons releasing chemicals in the brain. Okay. And these generate like electric signals that, you know, that vibrate or, you know, create signals in other like neighboring neurons.
You're like a scientist. Yeah, you're like a scientist.
Well, I mean, think about it. What is a thought?
I don't know.
I'm trying to explain it, right? They're electric signals that in the brain. This is the way science will explain what thoughts are. They're going to say it's electric signals. It's the firing of neurons firing electric signals in the brain. Mm. We would say that that's not quite right. We would say that. You with me, Ragnar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listening. You can see my hand, can't you?
I can see your eyes. I can see your hand. I can see.
Usually my hand is. Let me adjust that camera. Oh, no, I adjusted the wrong
point. And this is, I want you to be with me when I share this, because I want to hear your response to it.
Okay, ready. Present.
We say that the dream is unreal, but the dream is made of thoughts. What are thoughts? Thoughts are these chemical, electrical, physical transformations taking place in the brain. That's the way science will explain it. We would say, we would take it one step further and say that like the thoughts exist in the mind and they're represented in the brain in a particular way. It's kind of like this, like say you were to study like a speaker, like a stereo speaker. Yeah. And you were to look at it and say, okay, what is music? And you would say, well, the music is like the vibrating of this speaker head, right? And then, but someone that knows more about it say, no, you see, that vibration is caused by a radio signal. There's something more subtle that made that vibrate, right? And you could go back further. You can say the radio signal was caused by a vinyl record, which was caused by a band in a studio who were playing vibrating instruments and vibrating the vocal cords, and so and then it gets represented in the speaker vibrating. We would say that the mind is something more subtle than the brain, and what's going on in the mind is being represented in the brain the same way that a musical signal is being represented in a speaker head. But setting that aside, from a scientific, we can say that thoughts are neurons firing within the brain. And if that's the case, then they're physical, and they're just as real as anything else that's physical. Right? Like, therefore, your dream actually exists.
Ooh.
Right? In a physical form. And then, and so then, but someone say, okay, but those dreams still aren't real, because the things that we were dreaming of don't really, no, they exist right there in your brain. And what the Bhagavad Gita is saying is that our existence in this realm, in this particular body, and our identification with this body is just as unreal, is just as dreamlike. It's just there's the macro and the micro. It's like the dream is the dream within the dream. Right. What we call a dream is a dream within a dream.
What to speak of if you're playing a video game, right? You're in a dream, in a dream, in a dream.
Dreams. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's like those Russian dolls. It's like, oh, you open up and there's another dream, and you open up and there's another dream, and you open up and there's another dream. That's what we're dealing with.
The simple explanation I always say is, why wasn't that dream real? Well, it was real. I mean, sometimes we cry, we fall in love, we experience some great anxiety or fear, our heart palpitation, runs quicker and quicker. It's not a dream, or it's not a reality, because it's temporary. It happens and then it goes, and then we look back at it and we think, oh, that wasn't real. Well, how many times in this life have I looked back to something as solid as a marriage, a relationship? When my kid went holding a baby in my arms, and I look back at my 18-year-old daughter and remember when she was a baby, it's like, wow, that is like a dream.
Gone.
Right?
Yeah. And here it's what Jada Bart is drawing attention to is your identification as a king is illusion. It's a dream. It's going to be gone like that. And like if someone's talking about our dream, like let's say you wake up from a nightmare, and then someone tells you it's just a dream, it's not real, right? Well, if we don't now scientifically we already know it was real. There was thought, these thoughts were manifestations in my physical manifestations in my brain, but we don't consider the person saying that the dream was unreal to be wrong. And we consider what they're saying has a practical purpose, and that's exactly what's
actually
happening.
Bypassing my dream, Kostuba.
But here's my point.
It was very real to me.
Here's my point is that when Jada Barta is saying you're not the king, these are not the pelican carriers. The first reaction from the mundane conventional point of view is, no, I am the king, and these are the pelican carriers. But it's just like someone saying that was just a dream. It's not real. Jada Barta is saying, factually, you're not the king. Factually, that was just a temporary manifestation, just like any other dream. It's just as dreamlike as any other dream. And there's a truth to that. And he's trying to drive this home, just like we're talking about yesterday with the Matrix and Morpheus, saying, don't think, know it. You got, don't try to hit me, in this illusory realm. So he's training his mind to recognize these macro, micro, dreamlike states. And he knows that if I can get him to think like this and to get it, it's going to transform his life in an incredibly powerful way. So he's drilling it in, and even he's getting a little heavy, like saying, look at you. you're acting like you're like a fool. You're in illusion, and it's making you act cruelly. You can't even stand in front of like people that have real knowledge with any dignity, right? It's pushing him. It's pushing him to, just like Morpheus was pushing Neo, you know, even poking, even emotionally, kind of like poking at him. That's what Jadabharta is doing here, to get him to try to expand your mind and understand that what seems so ephemeral, that you can actually perceive it super clear.
So the podcast, the Bhagavatam, the guru, a good friend comes like the guru to poke and to prod. And it's not just a pet, it's to actually make us, hey, there's a new way to look at your entire reality. And it's very, very confronting. You're not a king. Ouch. Now I'm finally doing the final edit of my book. It's going to be done today. And it was like this last thing I was like writing about how going to Vrindavan was so confronting for my ego. You know, how the ego that we parade around like an arrogant prince, and it's got nothing to do with us. And when we start to get that, it breaks a part of us. And that's why we're coming into our spiritual self, is we have to shed a type of skin. And it's painful. And that's why that's what friends are for. That's what lovers are for. That's what teachers are for, to assist us to shed that skin and say, hey, it's going to be all right. It's not only going to be all right, it's going to be better. You got to just let that go.
Right. Yeah. It's so there's another interesting idea that's shared through this by this Chandogya Upanishad verse again, which says, by knowing a single lump of earth, you know all the objects made of earth. All changes are mere words in name only, but earth is the reality. So it's saying, if we know Krishna, which is the substance that expands into all energy, spiritual as well as material, the wise person gets it, that is the energy of Krishna. When you know that, you see when you see everything through that perspective. Again, we were talking about the other day. That's the master key, right? It changes how I relate to all the energy. I don't see it as my property ever. I see another manifestation of Krishna's energy. Even my own body, another manifestation of Krishna's energy. When I see the deity in the temple, that's a manifestation of Krishna's energy. I'm beginning to, the whole point of seeing the deity in the temple is so that I will see Krishna's energy wherever else I look.
I like that. Yes.
It's a whole culture. It's got stacks of books that are stacked with philosophy. It's got a tradition of storytelling. It's got ritual. It's got art and culture. It's got temple worship, which is ritual, all geared to help us get this, that everything's coming from one source, right? See it everywhere. And the more that we see it everywhere, social justice will naturally happen, because when you actually see reality, you respect all spiritual energy, you respect all life.
I love that. The deity in the temple is not to make us forget other people, and it's just me and the deity. Opposite of that, you see God in the deity and in every living entity. That's beautiful.
It's how you train yourself to see God in every living entity. Oh, we're out of time?
We're out of time here. Let's see what Miss Mara has to do. Little takeaways for us today.
I got some good stuff.
We'll be the judge of that.
You said it, so.
Oh. Okay.
Our entire life is all a blip.
Just a blip.
Just a blip.
Our challenges and hardships will pass in a moment.
Blip.
Momentarily.
The world's a mess. Water the root, not every leaf.
Blip.
I don't know if that applied in that one.
Spiritual knowledge is a cure.
Blip.
Yeah.
Our bodies are different transformations of Earth.
Yeah, I think
Earth the Kid
there.
We are all but dust.
Dusty roads.
We become what we meditate on.
I like that.
Yeah. The guru comes to poke and prod.
Poke. Poke me, guru.
To know Krishna is to have the master key.
Ooh, I like that.
And
what you got?
shed the ego skin.
Shed the ego skin. All right.
Shed the ego skin. Okay.
Or you
I
are
was
not
waiting for the
king. I haven't
comedic
decided.
You're not
element
the
of
king.
that
You're not the
one,
king.
but-
How about you're not the king? You're not the proud prince. Oh, everybody, thanks for joining us. Really want to thank Makunika Shore and Ben and Esther's Vegan Jewish Deli. If you're in the area of San Diego, Portland, Seattle, check that out. Coming to Los Angeles.
What would you
I'm gonna
order
wait
if you went
outside.
into the vegan Jewish deli?
What you say, Kostuba?
What would you order if you went into the vegan Jewish deli?
The Reuben, the lox, and bagel, matzo ball soup. Come on. Thanks everybody for joining us. I also want to share that if you're listening to us out there, write us a review. Go to Apple Podcast, write a review, give us a 5-star review. Tell us how you got here, what you like about the show. We read all that stuff and we love it. Also, if you're listening to us on YouTube, comment on YouTube, follow us on YouTube, like us on YouTube. It makes a big difference to help get that this message out to people. Also, getting the message out to people is important. So share this podcast with a friend. This is a, how do you say it? It's like community support podcast, but I was going to say it grows organically by just sharing it with people. And it's amazing how many people come up to me and say, oh yeah, someone just told me about it. I didn't know anything about hardcore. I didn't know anything about Joe Rogan. What'd you say? Grassroots, Mara. That's the word. Grassroots. It's a grassroots podcast. And if you like what we're doing, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Throw in a monthly donation to keep this going. That's how it's going. You guys are supporting it. That's the only way this boat is floating. And I want to thank everybody that assists. Remember, if you join the patreon.com, not only do you support us, but you get access into a treasure trove, a secret vault. You get the skeleton key to enter into what? Backlogged transcendental information to blow your minds.